Well, guys, I think I jinxed myself. I plan to make a recap on that Sunday duel similar to this one, but a little bit more wrestling focused. Of course, if there is a fight between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, I'll be forced to cover it, but that's completely fine with me. I think the way I'm going to run the video is talk about the matches first, and then go into the fight. Because unlike Iowa and Iowa State, not much really led up to the fight besides just classic physical Bedlam wrestling. So without further ado, let's roll into the intro. Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State, or Bedlam, is one of the longest rivalries in D1 college wrestling. Of course, the name Bedlam came from a school tradition, so it's not wrestling specific because football just had their Bedlam as well. It is interesting to note though that Oklahoma and Oklahoma State always duel each other in the beginning of the year and then at the end of the year as well, which not many teams do with their rival. So I also did a Google search about where the name Bedlam came from, and I am not joking. The first article I found literally said, the short answer is, we don't know and no one really knows. So that is fun, but I am more here to recap the duel from this Sunday and get into the fight, I guess. So it really doesn't matter where the name came from, I guess, but I also heard it started from wrestling duels in the 1920s, but I wouldn't say that is confirmation either. But before we get into the recap from this Sunday, hi everyone, my name is Tanner, and this is True Tan Wrestling. If you are a fan of D1 college wrestling like me, feel free to hit that like button, and if you really love college wrestling, hit that subscribe button. I do duel/tournament previews and recaps, breaking news stories, and anything relevant in the D1 wrestling space. If you want me to take a look at your favorite team or wrestler, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Now, let's talk some Bedlam. Oklahoma State was the clear favorite entering into this duel, and they normally are in recent years. However, I am very high on Oklahoma, and they will for sure win a majority of their duels this season, with guys ranked all over the top 30, which is a huge growth from the end of the Mark Cody era. But even though OU is not favored, it is similar to Iowa and Iowa State, where the rivalry itself drives the competitiveness, and something crazy always happens in these rivalry matches. The wrestling is just more physical, someone always wins or loses that shouldn't, and some great wrestler always gasses out that never gasses out. Classic. This duel was no exception to the classic rivalry action. It was exciting right out of the gate, starting at 149 with Dom Demas of Oklahoma making his season debut up a weight class from last year's 141, which was a huge move. There was talk about his weight being an issue, but since Mitch Moore has been the guy at 149 at the start of the season, I know myself and others just assumed Demas was just injured or something, and he was the guy at 141 still. But this match changed it all. Granted, I do not have the weigh-in sheet, so Demas could have weighed 141 and just bumped up, but I don't think that makes a lot of sense and puts almost no faith in Mitch Moore. Besides the lineup battles at Oklahoma that I'm excited to see play out between Demas and Moore, there was still a Bedlam duel that I'm finally going to start talking about. 149 saw mention Dom Demas versus Kane Gefeller, and to be honest, I finally noticed how short Dom Demas is, wrestling a full 149 Gefeller. Plus, I thought it was classic Dom Demas kind of match through the first period and a half. What I mean by that, there was either a crazy flurry or roll with Dom Demas scoring, but for the most part, it was sort of just a boring hand fight until all that started. I love Dom Demas, don't get me wrong, but his matches are either exciting or super slow, which is probably a result of good coaching and coaching their guys to just shut Dom Demas down. With all that said, once Gefeller started pulling the trigger, it was a way more exciting match, and it was awesome to see Gefeller back at a natural weight class and healthy because he is going to be so elite at 149. Gefeller would win by decision with a few takedowns and little mat wrestling, but Gefeller looked great, and the longer the match went on, he looked better and better, with Demas looking a little slow and tired, which is kind of expected with him being out a while. I'm excited to see both of them go against more quality opponents, especially Demas since this was his first match back, and Gefeller I'm really excited because he looked great this match. Overall, I think both these guys are going to be huge threats in March, so I would not want to pull them first. 157 was a really hard fought match that lasted way too long because there were two challenges between returning All-American Sheets from Oklahoma State and Thomas of Oklahoma. They both are performing well this season, with their only losses coming to quality opponents in my opinion. I kind of forgot how tight Sheets was on top, and I really thought Thomas was going to lose this match based off his mat game, but instead we went into overtime where we saw the first overtime of the match where Sheets would get the first takedown of this match, getting the win in overtime. There was actually a throw mid-overtime that I can't believe no one scored on and won the match off, but overall I thought this match was well calculated and earned by Sheets. Moving on to 165, we saw another returning All-American and high recruit in Travis Whitleg. going against Rutgers transfer Grello. Whitlake's only loss was to Griffiths this year during his first match of the year, and Grello's had a tough go so far, being 2-3 on the year, but had a close 8-6 loss with Anthony Valencia of Arizona State earlier in the year. This match would have been 8-4 Whitlake, but it felt like Whitlake dominated the entire match in my opinion. 174 saw a young Plot go against Anthony Mantanona, which sounds like a great match on paper, but I think my ship has kinda sailed on Mantanona unfortunately. I think he just needs to develop more of a traditional defense rather than relying so much on the funk and his throws, because a guy like Plot is too fundamentally sound to allow stuff like that to fly, and most good guys can score rather easily on Mantanona, and his big moves are becoming easier and easier to scout and stop. I will admit though, when he is winning, it is fun to watch. Plot would win by a dominant major decision 10-2, which I was happy for Plot because he looks healthy. He has been dealing with major shoulder issues the past few years, and I think he is at least around a 12 threat when he is 100% healthy, but I understand that late in the season it is hard for guys to stay tip top, but I am hoping the best for Plot because he looks great when he is healthy. 184 saw a similar matchup to last year with Roberts versus Gear. These two have wrestled a ton, and Roberts has never really had success against Gear, but I think Roberts has been making gains year over year, but he is still struggling to make that major jump. Gear is a very good wrestler and he's 4-0 on the season so far, and for the most part he's been wrestling like a returning All-American. He would end up being Roberts 8-2, and to be honest, Oklahoma was really struggling at this point. They really needed to win those first two matches, but once the Cowboy train started rolling, the Sooners really started struggling with no momentum, and it was at Norman, Oklahoma, which was probably unfortunate for Sooner fans. Now moving on to 197, which I have been dying to talk about for the exact reasons you are all thinking, and yes, it is because of the returning national champ AJ Ferrari. I will get my Ferrari thoughts out now, but where do I even really start? This man does and says whatever he wants. He posts and talks about anything and everything, and on top of that, the man will talk smack to anyone. Thomas Gilman at least had respect for John Smith, but I don't know who Ferrari has respect for. To all the people who don't respect him, all I have to say is you better get used to him, because his stunts will be lasting for another 4 years, and he has a little brother who just won Ironman who did the infamous Ferrari flex, so we are for sure in for a long haul with this family. Now, with all that said, I think AJ is really annoying, but this dude is a very good wrestler, and I hate to say this next part because it is very cliched at this point in wrestling, but Ferrari is good for the sport and is growing it in some form or another. He is a walking meme and trash talker, and he backs it up. The dude won a national title as a true freshman. He may not act like a pro, in the slightest, but he does wrestle like one. Now, back to the duel. On paper, 197 sees mentioned champ Ferrari and returning unexpected All-American Woodley. Woodley has looked awesome this year and only had a minor down performance at CKLV, but he has looked like he's made some serious improvements even from his All-American year. Unfortunately, the match would not be very exciting for Woodley because he was 0-3 entering this match, and last season each meetup got worse for Woodley and better for Ferrari. This match was nothing different, with Ferrari winning 6-3 and swinging his leg around the last 30 seconds of the match trying to get Woodley to shoot, proving some of my points. And I really hate when Ferrari does this kind of stuff with so much time left on the clock, but I get Woodley is just trying to not get scored on, but at least have some class, bro. That's enough about Ferrari for now, well, at least until the fight section of this video, but we still have 4 more matches to highlight. 285 was a classic heavyweight fight between new star Luke Serber of Oklahoma State, who appears to have the spot over Harris for now. Harris had an alright season with a nice national performance last year for someone of his caliber. I know he recently graduated and is yet to wrestle this season, so he is either hurt, calling it a career, or lost a spot to Serber for now, but only time will tell. Serber lost at sudden victory to Heinzelman, who was having a rockier start to the season than I thought he would, but this was a nice win for him. We will also talk about Heinzelman a little later at the end of the video. 125 saw a match I was really excited to see between two ranked opponents, between Mastro Giovanni of Oklahoma State, who has a win over All-American Pat McKee of Minnesota this year, and seems to have made serious developments this offseason. He would beat Joe Prada, the Virginia Tech transfer for Oklahoma, by 5-4 decision. Mastro Giovanni has a high ceiling, being a top recruit from Blair, and having promising moments from last year, and Prada had a great year at Virginia Tech before he transferred last year, so it is not surprising that this match was pretty great. The re-attack by Mastro Giovanni to win the match was textbook and was really fun to see. On paper, 133 should be exciting, but Fix is honestly a buzzsaw on the Big 12, and Madrigal was just no match for the returning NCAA runner-up and world silver medalist. To Madrigal's credit, he did win a stacked Michigan State Open bracket, where he beat CKLV champ Ragusin of Michigan, All-American beard at Illinois, and very good Foley at Michigan State, but he did miss CKLV, but he also dropped a major decision to a very good McGee of Arizona State, and dropped a tight match to Moshe Schwartz of Northern Colorado, who finished 0-2, losing to two low-performing wrestlers at CKLV. I think after this match, we have some reason for these results and missing CKLV. He had an injury of his elbow, and he tweaked it halfway through this match. Regardless, I don't think the result would have been any different, as Fix would win via tech pin basically, and he just looked amazing. Like I said, buzzsaw in the Big 12. Finally, we end the night with 141 pounds with the young come-up Carter Young of Oklahoma State versus Butler of Oklahoma. Young is yet to look impressive to me in my opinion, but to relieve some pressure off the young transfer from Northwestern, he probably is still adjusting to a new school environment. His biggest success was at 61 kilograms, so about 133 pounds, so the bump up to 141 might be affecting him a little bit, and he could be too small for that weight class. Also, transitioning from freestyle to folk style, or vice versa, is not as easy as you might think. I don't want to make excuses for him, but he is still just a freshman, and regardless, he still got it done on the road at Oklahoma versus Butler by decision. Butler must be Oklahoma's best option for now, as he has made several starts this season, but if Demas stays at 149, will more drop to 141, or is Demas just slowly dropping throughout the year, or will they just slowly battle it out throughout this season? Like always, big programs have their lineup questions everywhere. Now, what everyone has been waiting for, the fight at the end of the duel, but unlike Iowa and Iowa State, there was a literal fight, and instead of a full team just pushing and talking to each other, it was basically just two guys. And of course, it was AJ Ferrari, and then it was Heinzelman of Oklahoma. At first glance, it seems like Heinzelman just pushed and punched Ferrari, but clearly he never heard of the second man always gets a penalty, because Ferrari clearly said something that got Heinzelman so mad that he wanted to push and punch Ferrari. One side note, it seems like the teams actually wanted to shake hands, and everyone else seemed confused and like they wanted nothing to do with it after Heinzelman punched and pushed Ferrari. But Ferrari would end up double-legging and getting on top of Heinzelman, where he would throw his own punch. However, teammates and coaches did eventually get the two off of each other, where they continued to yell at each other. There's a few points I want to make. Oklahoma got their absolute butts handed to them, so if anyone should pick a fight, it's not them. And you have to know that you need to keep your cool around Ferrari, regardless of the dumb acts he's doing. Second, if anyone should pick a fight with him, I guess it should be OU's heavyweight, and the only person who want to match that duel. And my final 2 points are, I really want to know what AJ said to him to make him push and punch him, and also look at freshman Voinovich's face. He's like, what is going on? But with the fight talk out of the way, what did I actually think of the duel? Well, the team score was 31-3 in favor of Oklahoma State, so it doesn't seem like a great duel, but in my opinion, all the matches were fun to watch. Oklahoma State just looked like they had more fight and that they were in way better shape than Oklahoma. With that said, I'll be honest, Oklahoma State always looks good early on, but then it seems like they slowly start to get more and more beat down and drained and get injuries as the season goes on. Hope the best for both teams, and I hope they could stay healthy, especially Oklahoma State, because they have a fun team and they could be in the hunt for a trophy this year. The duel might not have been that competitive at all, but all the matches were great, and there was an unbelievable amount of rank v rank matchups, which you don't always get, and I am happy that our rivalry is slowly becoming competitive again, similar to Iowa versus Iowa State, except I guess they actually fight in Oklahoma. Well guys, Bedlam did not disappoint from start to finish, and even a little after the duel was entertaining. If you guys like this video, hit that like button, and if you love this video or are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button as well. Let me know your thoughts on the duel in the comment section below. Let me know what kind of videos I should make next, or if you like videos like this, feel free to leave a comment in that comment section below too. I'm always up for suggestions. Now, I hope everyone has a great day, and thank you all for watching.